In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll be talking to a national thought leader on how to fix the broken healthcare system. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, we've been talking about this for generations now. The healthcare system in America is broken, and it doesn't seem to matter who's the president. It just seems to get more and more in disrepair. To talk about that now, Ron Barshop, he is the CEO of BeaconClinics and the author of the upcoming book, Healthcare is Fixed. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm proud to have you on the show because you really are a thought leader when it comes to healthcare. Before we get into your book, talk to me more about BeaconClinics.
BeaconClinics serves allergy patients in primary care clinics throughout Texas.
And as a guy on the front line seeing this, you said to yourself, there's a better way to deliver health care.
Yeah, what the problem is primary care is in trouble. What we talk about that in my show and in my book. But you can help primary care if you bring ancillaries to the table. So 80-90% of primary care is what's called fee for service. They charge a fee for you coming in to see them. They're volume centric. Well, we can help them with allergy testing and treatment, which is extremely common in Texas and an extremely valuable service. So it's great for the doctor, great for the patient. Our doctors that are allergists are great to have access to so many patients. And we keep a lot of allergy labs busy, and everybody wins.
So you are a speaker who goes around the country, especially during times when we're not social distancing, but you were speaking in Houston about a month ago. We've got a little clip, and I want to show that because you're a very entertaining and compelling speaker. Who is your audience generally when you're speaking?
I speak to doctors, I speak to practice managers, I speak to patients. Everybody's a patient. I've spoken to CEOs of healthcare companies. I mean, you name it, I speak to a wide variety of audiences because what we're talking about is not really out there. And we want to get the message out that healthcare is fixed. Healthcare is not completely broken. There are people that are fixing it.
And is the reaction generally, are they with you? Are they skeptical?
Well, what I'm proposing is going to break the current system, is breaking the current system. That means there are going to be winners and losers. The winners are all of us. The losers are big hospitals and big healthcare companies. And they don't like hearing this message. So
yes.
I'll get a stony reaction in front of some audiences, but I'm going to keep telling the truth because that's what you and I do.
I love your use of humor. We're not playing this up full, but you have them in the palm of your hand from the very beginning. I mean, humor is important in speeches, isn't it?
If you don't use it, you don't have their full attention, right?
Yes.
You got to grab them with something in the beginning, and then keep them entertained. Information is entertainment. Entertainment is information. You're a master at that.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. Let's talk about your podcast because you launched it how long ago?
2 years ago, I got a call on Christmas Eve, literally week from now, and it was a guy who's doing some gigantic podcasts with some gigantic personalities. And he says, your information you're putting on LinkedIn is too valuable to not have a bigger megaphone. You need a show. I said, how many shows are you producing, my friend? And he said, you're my first. So Primary Care Cures was born that day. We're doing our 100th show. We're producing it this week. So we do one a week. And I've had White House senior policy advisors. I've had national bestsellers for healthcare books. It's a joy to produce. I just had a woman who was the first Harvard MBA female professor and still there 51 years later. And she's learning on my show. We're learning these things together. And it started out kind of like a Sherlock Holmes. How do we fix healthcare? What can cure primary care? And then by extension, healthcare, because that's the backbone. And what we found with these guests is we discovered together that there are some holistic solutions that are curing primary care, that are helping to fix healthcare.
We've got a clip from a recent show. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
Ron, you said upping the Medicare age is not the answer to fixing the Medicare solvency problem. So what is the answer?
The game is rigged. There really is no way to fix this thing with solutions. If I was a Medicare recipient, and I will be in a few years, I would just have a direct primary care relationship, and I would have a sharing ministry, and I would use that as my go-to to get what I need to get done, because it's really the only option right now. There is no solution if it's not a market-based solution.
The only way we're going to fix it is to repeal Medicare. And honestly, Medicare piggybacked on Social Security. And Social Security is part of it. I mean, Social Security is bankrupting us also. And we just cannot continue to have these programs where the federal government steals from the taxpayers to give to who they see as fit.
We want to make that clear that was not, you were a guest on somebody else's show, but you have a very popular podcast, and because of your upcoming book, you get invited to be on a ton of shows, I'm sure.
Yeah, about one a month. And I have to sort of coach the host on what to ask, because this is such a new topic. There's so few people that are aware of these super cool companies that are out there really curing primary care and healthcare by extension.
Let's talk about your book. We've got a picture off of your website. What caused you to write the book?
I got fed up with me as an employer. I got fed up with what I was paying and what I was getting for that payment. So I went out and I found this wonderful company in Arizona, and Redirect Health is my current provider. None of my employees will leave. I have zero turnover. I used to have to interview 50 to get one good medical assistant. Now I interview one for every one medical assistant, because I get a higher caliber person. My absenteeism has dropped to virtually zero. My presenteeism is hard to measure, but I'm pretty sure that where our productivity is as good as it can get in a COVID crisis. And most importantly, my costs are down 40%, and my employees love it. And now when I sit down, I used to talk company culture, I'd talk about mission and values, and that was for the birds. Nobody wanted to talk about mission and values and vision. What they wanted to talk about was their kids' cold or their husband's sleep apnea. And that's what I talk to them about now is, did you get in there? Remember, there's no copay, no deductible, no premium. Did you use this 800 number? I'm going to stick it on your computer so you don't forget it. I want you healthy. I want your kid healthy. I don't want you going to Medicaid clinics ever again. And it's a meaningful conversation between two humans instead of a boss talking about some stupid mission, vision statement. So it's made me more real to my people and them more relatable to me. And I love everything about it.
And when you titled it "Healthcare is Fixed," is the meaning that it's rigged? Is that what you're talking about?
It's a rigged game. Healthcare is a fixed game if you're a big hospital, if you're a big insurer, a big medical device company, if you're what I call one of the bigs, big pharmacy benefit manager, which is a fancy word for a middleman, or even a big broker. But it's also fixed in patchwork. There are companies that have actually holistically fixed the problem for the 5 parties that are all sort of being offended right now. The first one is patients, which we all are patients, we're all voters, we're all employees, most of us. And then the second one is employers, you and I are employers. Mm-hmm. The third one would be the doctors. They're losing until this new fix is coming in, and they're all winning now. And then cost is dropping, and then overall population health is increasing with these new models.
So what do you want the takeaway? What should the audience be hopeful that we as a country can solve this? Because it seems like with the big 5 that you described, that there's so much vested interest in keeping it the way it is. I mean, are you hopeful?
Well, there's a Tom Cruise scene where he puts on the sunglasses. He goes, "Looks like University of Illinois." That's the future looks so bright. You got to put on shades right now. If you're in the middle of this solution and you get to be fortunate enough to talk about it on great shows, you can see we're not far off. There's about 20 million people that are living in this future that everybody wins in. And I think that's going to be like 40 to 60 to 80 million over the next 2 to 4 years. So it's just growing by leaps and bounds. It's a quiet revolution. It doesn't have a leader. There's no Moses or Jesus running it. There's no name for it, but it's called direct contracting, and it's also called telehealth. And both of these are taking off like hockey sticks.
How has the pandemic changed what you're writing in the book?
I kept it the same because it's still a great solution, but what the pandemic has changed about this movement is telehealth went from 1% adoption up 1,000%.
Yes.
So about 70% of people are using telehealth today because they don't want to go into this sick ward anymore, and doctors don't want to go in the coal mine. They like dealing over the phone with 85% of the problems can be dealt with by phone. The other thing is this direct contracting. You no longer have to use a middleman to get your way and what you need. You can go direct to a doctor and have payment made to the doctor, to the surgeon, to the lab, to the x-ray and imaging. All of those people take cash, and they're delighted to avoid the middleman too. So when you go in the doctor's office, you see all these people walking around in lab coats, all these people walking around in scrubs, and you go, they never saw me today. Who are all these people? They're all transactional care people. They're not dealing with health care. They're dealing with sick care and transaction care. So those people all essentially will get eliminated over time because we don't need a bunch of people handling money all day long. We need people taking care of us.
Do you fear kind of a tsunami of mental health issues
It's
stemming from the pandemic? And
is that on my shoulder? It's here. We all have it. I mean, you and your son are very healthy looking, but I think that guy behind the booth is pretty sick. I'm worried about him.
Yeah, Trey, we're worried about you, man.
So I mental health is, it's like, yes, and not only that, but cancer screenings, heart attacks. People are having heart attacks at home. There's a whole well of once the hospitals open up more, where people are going to get more testing, more treatment that's badly needed. But the mental health, yeah, huge, gigantic.
Before the show, I asked you what are some points that you'd like to get across, and you said, what's changing, who's changing, and why does it have to change? Take any one of those or all three.
What's changing is healthcare is we're actually going to be able to reverse chronic disease. We're going to actually be able to reverse aging with what we're learning today. So I've had a guest on, David Sinclair, who's a Harvard professor and scientist, and we're actually reversing aging, and it's going to be so widespread that you're actually going to see this in the field in the next 5 to 10 years. Very exciting stuff. We're also finding that with behavior modification using artificial intelligence and wearable sensors that we can wear on our wrists, have in our homes, if you're a diabetic, glucometers, that can actually reverse diabetes. Nobody's been able to do that in the history of healthcare, is reverse diabetes on a consistent basis for all race, creed, color, age, sex. It's amazing, and it's very exciting stuff. That's going to be widespread in the next 5 to 10 years. So why does this need to change? Because right now, 48 cents of every federal dollar is going to healthcare. That's an unsustainable model. John Hopkins tells us that if you take the actual healthcare spend, which is $100 billion a month that's going into Medicare and Medicaid, if you add into it the percentage on the federal debt that's covering the healthcare spend that we're the deficit spending for, what Social Security recipients are spending out of their monthly for healthcare, Defense Department, VA, these are all 48 cents of every dollar, and it's going up every year by a penny. So it's not sustainable. What are we going to wait till it's 52, 58, 100% before we wake up? So actually this administration is going to have to change. Something's going to have to change because we can't keep funding this insolvable problem with these unlimited dollars.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're almost out of time, so I want to give you just a chance to kind of wrap it up and final thoughts. And is there anything that consumers should be doing or reading other than pre-ordering your book?
Yeah, I would say if you go to Direct Primary Care, there are websites called Direct Primary Care Horizons, and they will tell you who the direct primary care doctor is that lives in your town close to your home. And if you go to that doctor, you'll pay them a monthly fee of anywhere from $59 to $89 a month, and you will get A-class red carpet service, like my employees do, like I get. You can do it for your employees too if you're a listener and you're an employer. So Direct Primary Care, just look it up. You'll find doctors all over town where you live. There's one, I'm sure, a mile from where we are right now in this studio.
Sure.
And those are the doctors that are going to take best care of you.
Outstanding. Ron, thank you for coming on the show. We're going to end with your website so people can get in touch and go ahead and pre-order the book. It's healthcareisfixed.com is the website. Ron Barshop, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it, Jeff.
And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.